why this one was the one that was selected would probably be just the level of heavy personalization that we went into when doing the campaign.
You're listening to the Flip My Funnel podcast, a daily podcast dedicated to helping B2B marketing, sales, and customer success professionals become masters of their craft. It's Friday, so this is our #OneHero episode. In these episodes, we highlight and celebrate a blog post and contributor from our community and discuss topics surrounding sales, marketing, and customer success. Here we go.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Flip My Funnel podcast. My name is Caitlin Lutz, and I'm so excited because today we are here with Amber Bogie, who is the Senior Account-Based Manager at PlanView. Welcome, Amber.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. And Amber did something really cool last night and won an ABME. So we are so excited and just blessed to have her on the Flip My Funnel podcast today. So she won the ABME for Best One-to-One Campaign. So could you just walk us through that campaign? And, I know you don't want to be super self-serving talking about how great you are, but, what are the qualities of your campaign? Why do you believe that you won?
I think, to be honest, why this one was the one that was selected would probably be just the level of heavy personalization that we went into when doing the campaign in terms of the content itself and in the outreach to some of the people that we went after, the gatekeepers to the C-levels.
Yeah, absolutely. So could you just walk us through your campaign and what did it look like? How was it executed? What was the background, that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So after, of course, building, the ABM strategy, identifying our target accounts, we decided to go after, for our first ABM one-to-one campaign at the company, to create a sale rather than a pipeline acceleration. So we just were like, let's just challenge ourselves and do probably the hardest thing.
Yeah.
So we went ahead and selected an account. And again, this was the first ABM account for the company. And for myself at the company, and the salesperson had not experienced it. So it was just really new to the company. So there were a lot of eyes watching, and there weren't, at the time, we hadn't had a lot of processes put in place. I can say from now to then, we've got quite a process, and we've got lots of learnings since then. But to start, selected an account based on what we felt would be a great account for us to go after. And we did a ton of research. So in our industry, what we do and what our SDRs, ADRs, our field reps, marketing department, we're all looking at what the company's objectives and strategies are at a high level in order to evaluate how our solution can support them. So I'm telling you that we listened to quarterly business calls, earnings reports, read through 10Ks, not the most interesting information unless you're getting your MBA. So it's a little bit hard to kind of translate. Yeah. But ultimately, myself, and I mean, this was really a team initiative. It being the first ABM campaign, we had all hands on deck on the marketing team, CMO, in the first meetings for the campaign, brainstorming, everyone really excited and involved. But pretty much what we gathered and, listening to these 10Ks and reports, myself and the AE, hours and hours of just research. So what we ended up doing is just finding the common threads that we read online. We, looking at press releases, what's going on in the company, announcements, where are they in any sort of magic quadrant? Are they going through digital transformation? Just anything that would be relevant to the company. How are they performing? And actually, this company is doing really well. So, I know our solutions marketing team, we've selected quite a few accounts that they're doing really well. Normally you go after companies, you think that you go after companies that are struggling because you can find a business, a business need. But, solution supports from successful to not successful, of course. So Yeah, so they're doing really well. So we're trying to figure out what's our foot in the door? How can we create this campaign? So again, we identified what they were focusing on. And ultimately, we found that they had a high-level strategy. And then that strategy touched across 6 different large business units and the account. And we went ahead and took our value propositions, our metrics, and tied them directly to the goals and objectives that they were working on. So we were able to locate an internal document that was about, really specific and detailed about how they were going to be doing that, how they're going to be achieving it. And I would say one benefit that we've discovered is when you're creating these one-to-one accounts is you're finding a lot less of a struggle in the research process when you go after public versus private. So we're still figuring out the private. We've got somebody working on a campaign to a private account right now. And again, back to the process, what we figured out since then is now when we're going after these accounts, one-to-one campaigns, we're looking at what is the high-level strategy of the company, and then drilling down and like tearing it apart and trying to like really figure it out and make sense. And I have the AEs on, or our field reps on these phone calls when we're doing the research, and I'm asking them, all right, now what does this mean? How are they doing it? And they're saying, I don't know. I haven't talked to them. I'm like, I know, but I need you to figure it out. I need to work.
Do some research.
This is us working together. Pretend like I don't understand. Pretend, And then through that, it's a working process where we create, strategy alignment documentation that takes their strategy, our value props, and then metrics that align specifically to their strategies and how we can improve their business, save them, how many millions of dollars, et cetera.
Yeah.
So that was how we determined what we were going to say to them.
Right.
And how we ended up creating a campaign cadence just to start spanning several weeks. So we're in market. We are going after, it's work and resource management, what we do. And so we are going after C-levels. And our solutions, they reach several lines of business across, from C-level all the way down to managers. So what we're actually, working on getting everyone to the table, the C-levels to one table to work together and talk about their strategy and really get visibility into the strategy across an entire company. So this was a newer endeavor for us. Additionally, breaking into the C-suite, and I know there are tons of people and companies out there that are trying to figure out how do you get into the C-suite?
Yeah, it's what everybody wants to know, right?
Exactly.
It's why essentially account-based marketing exists.
Exactly. So we, of course, identified 6 different C-levels across the organization based on the strategies that they were focused on. And then we went ahead and identified their admins, their executive assistants. And just based on experience, administrative assistants are not what they used to be. These are people that sometimes hold MBAs and have years and years of experience working in business, owning their own businesses. They just are working in a different area right now. And so we decided to, take a different approach, and rather than, just kind of saying, hey, I'm trying to get, I'm trying to talk to your boss, and not really, not to say that people don't respect admins, but I don't know that they're getting, the right sort of respect and credit when people are reaching out. And so instead kind of taking an approach and focusing on creating a personal relationship with them. And so therein came a lot of research on the administrative assistants. So some examples of the research, we identified one admin had a bachelor's in French. And so with that research, I decided, and I just so happen to speak French, so I decided, I think I'm going to send her a personalized gift. I'm going to pick a really well-known French author and a really good, just French comedy book. And both of them are in French. Yeah. And since she has a bachelor's, definitely is able to read, read it. So sent that to her with a note, with a cute little note, just basically saying, hope that you'll enjoy these books, and, just really hoping to get their attention, do something nice for them, instead of just making it about really focusing on talking directly to that C-level, just trying to sort of, I guess, butter them up in a genuine way and in
butter
a personalized,
them up in a French way.
Right.
They love
like
the butter.
French way, the croissants. Exactly.
They do.
Another one that we did was one of the admins, he was involved in Toys for Tots, and we decided to make a donation on his behalf instead of, not to say that, gifts don't work and, nice plants and flowers and all that, not to say that it doesn't work, but the extra level of detail in the research I really think can make the bigger difference and help penetrate, that relationship. And so just to, so there were 9 people that we went after. We weren't, of course, able to identify every single admin for everyone, but of the ones that we identified the admin, we had a response rate of 4 out of 5. And every single one of them put our notes in front of the C-levels. And what we did for the, the second or third touch of the campaign was we wrote to the admins, following up on the gift that we sent, and saying, this is coming from the salesperson, of course, I've been thinking about the accounts objectives 2020 strategies, and placing in that email the exact thing that we would want that C-level to see in case they used that email and pushed that in front of them. And that wasn't even the one that we were putting in front of the C-level. So, that was one step that we did. And, again, of the ones that responded, they put it in front of their C-levels.
Yeah.
And so it was a really good success rate.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is truly incredible. The level of detail that you and your team worked for to get those 4 out of 5 accounts and get in touch with those, 4 out of 5 admins is really incredible. And I think that that's a big piece to all of this. We're at the Flip My Funnel conference right now, and Justin Keller from Sixer was just on stage, and he was talking about how, you shouldn't be afraid if something isn't scalable, because sometimes the most unscalable things are the most impactful. And you wouldn't necessarily be able to scale sending out a comedy book in French to every single French-speaking admin of the C-level person that you want to talk to. But that made a huge difference, I'm sure,
absolutely. Yes.
in the way that you were able to impact that account.
Yeah, definitely.
And so don't be afraid, I think, would be a great advice for our listeners is don't be afraid if something isn't scalable, because that detail could make all the difference in the world.
Exactly. And I mean, for this one account, so talking about scale, we did one of these, right? And we're on, our 10th so far in this year. But this one account, we invested only less than $3,000, and the pipeline opportunity creation was over $800,000.
Wow.
So
that's, no difference there. No big deal. That's incredible. Yeah. So if you could go back and change anything about the way that you approach this, would you change anything? And if so, what would you change?
Well, I mean, I probably would have wished that I had, a time machine so that I can go forward and know the process.
Yeah.
Because this one was challenging. I was new to the company, and ABM was new, so I was learning the industry and the, what work and resource management is and who these C-levels are and how, how we speak to them. And they were learning account-based marketing implemented in the company.
Right.
So there was a learning curve happening for the both of us. So that part was challenging, but ultimately I'd say, no, I wouldn't change anything just because it allowed us to, really experience the growing pains and really optimize the process moving forward,
Yeah.
So now we have, when there was just one of me, there's now 3 of us, and we each are able to create these one-to-one campaigns, up to 5 of them per person. So 15 are able to run at a time. So, yeah.
Wow. And what period of time do those 15 run? How long?
So this campaign, it started back in April, end of April, and it's still running.
Gotcha.
So we are learning as we go, but we are not putting a timeline on what we're determining. We haven't had a campaign or account where we've been completely stonewalled and we just know that it's time to shut down. So we're figuring that out now, and ultimately what we're trying to do, so this first campaign is still running, and now we're moving to a pipeline acceleration campaign. So we're trying to accelerate the close of the deal.
Gotcha.
And our sales cycle is 12 to 18 months. So if there's any way we can shorten that and speed it up, then just better for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the last question that I have for you, just to sort of wrap things up, is, if you could give one piece of advice to someone who is looking to do this detailed one-to-one campaign, or, just these campaigns, ABM campaigns in general, what would your advice be?
Advice to someone wanting to do one-to-one campaigns, the research and time invested really pays off. I know that most sales teams are really apprehensive about putting in the amount of time that it takes. And it's incredibly important for the salesperson to be able to speak to the level of research that is done. I know some marketing teams go ahead and do the research and then sort of hand off to the sales team. I don't like to run the campaigns that way. I really think it's important and I've said this since I started working there and, started running campaigns. Speaking to myself, the sales rep, and the ADR, account development rep, supporting the salesperson, I say we should all have the same level of knowledge. It should just be yes, from one brain to the next. That is how orchestrated we need to be, and how closely we need to work together, and how important it is. And it pays off because with this campaign, the sales rep was able to speak so specifically to detail of their strategy, words that came out of the VP's mouth, at X random,
point in time.
Exactly. Yeah. So such a minute detail, and tie it to a metric that they're working towards, just the level of detail. So I would just say the research, as time consuming as it can be, when you're starting out, you'll figure out what to look for and, the notes to focus on, and it pays off.
Yeah. And we didn't talk about this, but obviously that piece is marketing and sales alignment. You need to have that one brain.
Yeah. And the number one, you're the number one failure of account-based marketing is lack of marketing and sales alignment. Yeah. And I had that question on the Family Feud game earlier. I had that. Yeah. And so, fortunately, our CMO did a wonderful job of, communicating that to our executives. And I really feel like we have effectively, of course, there's always going to be kinks between the departments, but, I do really feel like my team and I work together, and we are very invested in it together, and it makes all the difference. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Amber, thank you so much for being on the Flip My Funnel podcast. And again, congratulations for your ABM, and congratulations to your team at PlanView as well.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
You've been listening to the Flip My Funnel podcast. To make sure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast player. If you have an iPhone, we'd love for you to open the Apple Podcasts app and leave a review. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.